So I recently rolled credits on Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I can confidently say that all the hype and praise surrounding this game is 100% justified. I've put about 50 hours into it and done most of the endgame as well as watching both endings, and without question, this is the best video game I've played in a long time. I streamed my entire playthrough on Twitch at itstizzle7, and I'm already looking forward to jumping back in and doing a New Game Plus run. But before I do that, I sadly have to take a break and get my thoughts down on paper and then voice record and edit this video. Trust me, I would rather just keep pouring hours and hours into this incredibly engaging world, but I have to talk about why Clair Obscur is such a masterpiece.
Clair obscur, troublera, tu trouveras effet. Clair obscur, noir et ombre, tu trouveras sans elle. Clair obscur, troublera, tu trouveras effet. Clair obscur, noir et ombre, tu trouveras sans elle.
So before we dive in, I just want to let you know that from a story perspective, this review will be spoiler free. Yes, the story is one thing people absolutely adore about this game, but one thing that I've loved is that despite seeing a ton of discourse online about the game, most people have refrained from giving away spoilers. I was lucky enough to stay spoiler free for over a month until I beat the game, and I want to reciprocate that with my viewers. 100%. The best way to experience this story is by playing through the game and experiencing it firsthand for yourself. And having said that, I also ask that you, the viewer, refrain from any story spoilers in the comments. But we can still discuss the story in a broad sense. The overarching theme of the story, I saw lots of discourse online about how Act 1, 2, and 3 were all incredible finishes, and how the end of the game hit people right in the feels. And this is the first thing that I will praise the game for. It doesn't matter the medium, be it a book, TV show, movie, or video game, a well-written story will make the reader, viewer, or player feel something. It will cause them to look inward and process what is happening, to reflect on the story that was told and compare it against their worldview or things that have happened in their own life. And I can confidently say that if you play through this whole game from start to finish, you will feel something in some type of way. It's an incredibly moving story, and what I love about it is just how glaringly human it is. It is not some big bad villain wants to destroy the world and we, the flawless protagonists, must set out to stop it. No, the villain is not a traditional villain in any sense of the word. Sure, it may be framed like that in the early stages of the game, but the villain's motivations are more than justified, and the protagonists are not faultless perfect beings either. They all have flaws and their own motivations to want to keep things as they are. It's this moral gray area where the best stories thrive. There is no right and wrong in this game. You can see both perspectives are equally valid, and you can empathize with all parties. Their motivations differ, sure, but neither is right or wrong for wanting what they want. As the game so eloquently states,
life keeps forcing cruel choices. We do what we must.
It's a great allegory for life in general. Sometimes we're forced to do hard things or make hard choices. Even though we don't want to, we know it's in the best interest of ourselves or our loved ones. Even if the consequences from said actions are profoundly sad or hurtful, it is sometimes the best thing to do in the long run. So that's about all I will say on the story. I'm sure there are lots of videos out by now that delve into the hidden meanings of the story and discuss everything at length, but for the purposes of this review, I will just say that this was one of the most gripping and well-told stories I've ever experienced. On the topic of the story and world though, let's talk about the characters. Another thing I just love about this game is the aesthetic and the characters. It's an old-timey French aesthetic, and if I'm being honest, it's just nice to experience a new culture in a video game. I love experiencing different cultures, so just having the characters with their French outfits and names was a breath of fresh air. I've always been a sucker for accents, so I don't know, I guess it just speaks to me. I love the characters' names, they just sound so distinguished, like Renoir, Gustave, Maël. They are just fun to say. I know it's a small point, but I just really liked it. It speaks to the game's creators staying true to their identity, and you could just see the culture pour out into the game. Another character who's just awesome is Esquier, a giant, happy-go-lucky being who is amazingly voice acted.
Bonjour, mes amis. Mon ami, a rolling stone gathers no moss.
Granted, the voice acting in this game is all top-notch, which really helps to deliver on the powerful story. So for me, the story is a 10 out of 10, and the voice acting is a 10 out of 10. So let's talk about the one thing in this game that isn't perfect, because sadly, no game is. And that is that even though the voice acting is superb, the facial animation of the speaking is not the best. It's serviceable, but it's not top tier. And the only other complaint that I have is despite running a high-end PC with a 4090, I would get lots of pop-in on the world map. Again, this is a super minor nitpick, but I bring it up for one very important reason. This game was developed by only 33 people, a truly incredible feat. It goes to show that there are a ton of amazingly talented game developers out there and that these AAA studios need to get out of their way and just let them cook. Many of them were former Ubisoft devs who felt that they were being underutilized at Ubisoft. They were stagnant and not being allowed to flourish, so they formed their own studio and made the game that they wanted to make. And you can feel that in every aspect of the game. Again, this is a review of the broader game, so I won't be going into the whole development process of how the team came to be, but you should definitely look into it because every story I hear about the development of this game is just amazing, and it makes me so happy that fate lined up for these talented people to come together and develop a game for the ages. But back to my original point, the facial animation isn't perfect, and there is some pop-in on the world map. Recently, a clip from GTA 6 went viral for how there were bubbles floating very realistically in a bottle, and sure, this technological achievement is very impressive in a video game, but a wise man once asked, how does this make the game more fun? And here's the answer, it doesn't. I would way rather play a game with a compelling story, believable characters, and fun gameplay over a game that is a visual marvel and nothing else. Substance matters. Sure, nice visuals are cool and nice to look at, and they can certainly enhance the gameplay experience, but they're a tertiary requirement, something that's nice to have but not required. When it comes to video games, gameplay is king. Hell, when I was in college, my mom and I sat down and beat Super Mario World 3 on the NES. We played it together because it's fun, not because of the amazing 8-bit graphics. So having said that, how is the gameplay in Clair Obscur? Absolutely incredible. I saw a quote somewhere which I cannot find, but it basically said this: a great game doesn't just appeal to its audience, it creates a new audience. And that hit hard for me because I've never played a Final Fantasy game, never played Baldur's Gate 3, though I do really want to now, and I've never played Metaphor ReFantazio. Point is, I never played any of these games in large part because they are all turn-based combat games. Now, I'm not saying turn-based combat is bad at all. I'm just saying for me, gameplay is king, and I like to be challenged and engaged in combat. I like Spider-Man games, God of War. I started YouTubing thanks to my love for Destiny 2, a first-person shooter. I like to be in control of the combat. So even though you make selections and can build craft team synergies, the passive nature of turn-based combat has never appealed to me. Well, one of the devs on Clair Obscur was a massive fan of Sekiro, which has a parry-based combat system. So what did they do? They revolutionized turn-based combat by giving the player control to dodge or parry attacks. And I just so happened to play and beat Sekiro 5 times a couple months ago, so I was certainly sold on this. And honestly, I absolutely love it. Even if you're under-leveled, you can brute force your way through any boss if you focus up and learn the moveset and parry every attack. I've always said player agency in a game is crucial. Give players options to play how they want, and this game gives you a ton of options. Because yes, you can totally rely on your amazing parry skills to roll through any bit of content, but you can also over-level for things if you like. There is a trials-based level called the Endless Tower where the enemies get progressively harder and you have to go through 32 levels to get to the final boss at level 33. So before I did Act 3, I did a bunch of exploring and side questing. In most games I play, I often like to fully beat a game's side content before finishing the game. It's just how I am. So I did numerous combat trials, and in doing so, I got better at the game, got a ton of upgrades, and leveled up my character. This meant that when I went to do Act 3, I steamrolled all the enemies on my way to the boss, and then I could have one-shot the boss too if I wanted to. I tried not to because I did want the final boss to feel epic, but even still, I pretty much just rolled through it. Is this great for game balance? Not really, but player agency is so important. I loved that I could just mess around doing side objectives and play whatever caught my eye. It was a ton of fun for me. I love games for the gameplay, and this is how I wanted to play the game, by fighting enemies. And as you play all these optional endgame areas, you gather pictos and upgrade your weapons, which can greatly enhance your builds. which brings me to the next part of the game, the build crafting. So sadly, I was busy wrapping up Death Stranding when Clair Obscur came out, and then I was doing a ton of yard work through May, but man, I wish I could have went all in on this game at launch, as I would have loved to make some amazing build videos. I still may, just because I love build crafting, and if you're not familiar with my work, I started YouTube in 2020 on a channel dedicated to Destiny 2, and much of the stuff I covered was how to build craft in that game. But the build crafting in Clair Obscur is next level. You can do some insanely broken stuff, and I've barely begun to even scratch the surface. My initial playthrough has mostly just been trying to beat the game, so I've only really delved into the build crafting when I needed to be powerful for a boss that's super strong. And also, naturally, I haven't unlocked all the weapons or pictos, but once I do, I cannot wait to make some truly broken builds. The level of depth in this build crafting is incredible, and then you can also create team synergies as well, since you can have up to 3 characters fighting in your combat rotations. When I say the possibilities are endless, they truly are. There's so many pictos and weapons that you can make a build for whatever you desire. A one-shot nuke build, infinite attacks and gradient, become the ultimate tank to just absorb anything a boss can throw at you. It's all possible. Again, the depth of the build crafting system here gives players agency to play the way that they want. Sure, it's surface level in the early game, but as you unlock more and more weapons and pictos in the late game, the sky is truly the limit. And speaking of the end game and finding these pictos and such, I loved the world design in this game. Again, I don't want to give away what the world actually is for spoiler reasons, but the lore behind the world is incredible. And then there is a world map that you can explore to find hidden gestrels, which are basically little paintbrushes, and you can come across hidden bosses such as the Mimes, which is another ode to the French roots of the developers. The level design really reminds me a lot of God of War. I know the devs are fans of From Software, and truth be told, I've only played Sekiro, so I can't really speak to that, but I can definitely see some similarities to Sekiro as well. How you can go off the beaten path to find a new upgrade or fight some hidden boss. But to me, between the world map and the semi-linear level design, I got major God of War vibes. There are even little orbs that you have to shoot to unlock a chest of sorts, just like how in God of War you have to do mini puzzles to open certain chests. And the best part is that you are rewarded for exploring all the nooks and crannies of every level. And the levels all have visual identities to make them unique and memorable, which is always important. And then the enemies within those levels are also often quite unique. That is another area where this game nails it, which is enemy variety. There are tons of different enemies that you'll fight. Some enemies change elements after you attack them. Some are floating enemies, so you have to do a free aim shot to hit them, as they will usually just dodge your regular attacks. They all have unique movesets that you have to learn if you want to be able to beat them. The timing of some enemy attacks are super tricky to get down, but it makes it all the more rewarding when you do, just like in Sekiro. I really loved the enemy variety in this game, and it always made combat feel fun and exciting, even after dozens of hours of playing. So I've praised the combat, the build crafting, the story, the characters, the enemies, the world design, the level structure. What else is there to really talk about? Well, I've actually saved the best for last. Many a great game has had an incredible soundtrack, but I don't know if I've ever fallen in love with a soundtrack like I have in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And what makes this all the more amazing is the composer for this game was discovered on SoundCloud. The music in this game, I don't even have words to describe how good it is. I shared the OST with my sister, and I made my girlfriend listen to some of my favorite songs. And she even had the main theme song stuck in her head just like I always do, because it's just so damn catchy. It's just a joy to explore this world with the music playing. It's probably my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. It's just incredible. Again, the whole development of this game just continues to amaze me. How just one guy from SoundCloud developed all this incredible music. It just goes to show that the bloat in the gaming industry is so unneeded. If 33 people can make a video game this polished and fun, then what the fuck are they doing over at Activision with Call of Duty? Well, we actually know. They are trying to figure out how to optimize playtime with engagement-based matchmaking, how to entice people to purchase as many microtransactions as possible, how to come up with another cringy crossover that they can shoehorn in for a bit of extra profit. It's all just so scummy. But with Clair Obscur Expedition 33, every cosmetic is earned in-game by exploring the world and beating hidden bosses. It's a throwback to a simpler time, when you actually had to play the game and beat all the content to unlock everything, and not just bust out the credit card. The style of the game is consistent throughout and true to the creator's vision. This entire game is proof positive that there are still a ton of creative, talented people out there who just want to make awesome games, but sadly they're held back by suits who just want to make games for profit rather than out of passion. I'm hopeful that this game is part of a broader trend of artists and creatives taking back the gaming sphere, making games that they care about and telling the stories that they want to tell, revolutionizing decades-old combat like turn-based RPGs by putting a fresh and unique spin on it just because they thought it'd be fun and cool. Because you know what? They were right. It is fun and cool, and it's extremely addictive. As I said, I'm already looking forward to my New Game Plus run. I haven't been this enthralled with a new video game in ages. I dream about it. I think about it when I'm not playing it. I'm constantly reading about it and just relishing in the fact that so many other gamers are just as consumed by it as I am. It's just such a breath of fresh air, and it's everything that is right with gaming. A game designed with fun first, with giving the player a fun and memorable experience, and boy does it deliver. Anyways, that's it. Let me know down below how you like Clair Obscur Expedition 33, or has my raving review convinced you to try it out? It is available on Xbox Game Pass, but if you have the means, I highly recommend purchasing it to support Sandfall Interactive, because damn it, they deserve it. I bought it on Steam just to support them. Speaking with your wallet goes a long way, and they deserve every ounce of success and money that they are earning, and then some. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more gaming news and reviews. I still have my Sekiro review coming out, or you can watch some others that I've already released. I plan to keep reviewing all the games that I played this year, so I hope you tune in for more. Anyways, if you're still here, thanks so much for watching to the end. It means a lot. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.
Tu trouveras